Global markets have been extremely volatile in recent months. City traders can seem quite optimistic one day, then panic-stricken the next. So where do you put your money at times like this? I've come to North Staffordshire to speak to Stuart Bryant from SDB Strategic Planners. I'm going to start by putting it to him that these are bewildering times for investors.
The majority of people that we talk to are concerned about where will they be in a few years' time? Will their assets work? Will there be too much risk in the market? Should they be in the market? And what is the market?
A lot of commentators have described the last decade as being the lost decade. I mean, the FTSE is pretty well no higher than it was 10 years ago. What do you say to that?
If you look at the FTSE purely as an index, there's probably less than 1% growth. But if you extrapolate that out and add back in the dividends and then compare it to inflation, anybody that has been in the FTSE 100 and stayed there for the last 10 years will actually be something like about 20% simple in front of that performance.
What would you say to people who'd argue the stock market's so choppy at the moment, I don't want anything to do with it?
I think that's probably a very human reaction. And I think as human beings, when we see these sorts of catastrophes taking place, we do overreact. And yet, as history has shown, this is probably the best time to think about strategic planning.
There must be a lot of people now saying, I've made a lot of money, I don't want to lose it.
The starting point really is to understand what that money means to you, what you expect that money to do for you. You need then to be able to interpret that into some form of understanding of your lifestyle requirements, and to a great degree how inflation might affect that. And then from that point you can then start to look at ways in which you can organise your money, where money perhaps is going to be made and the risks you're going to have to take to make that money, so that you can actually build a portfolio that represents your needs, your family's needs, and perhaps the foreseeable future, which is extremely unforeseeable at the moment.
Of course, with every crisis there's an opportunity. Can you actually make money out of the current situation?
Clearly there are areas that are still doing well, still very buoyant. And for example, we've seen over the last sort of 10 years or so the effects of gold. We've seen the effects of oil. So resources and commodities are certainly a very interesting area.
In times like this, what's the advantage of coming to a small company like SDB as opposed to a big high street bank for financial advice?
A business like ours specialises in working very much one-to-one with clients. And I myself am lucky enough to have people I've worked with for 30 years still as clients, and so are their children and grandchildren. The idea should be that you find someone that you can trust and someone that is very clearly interested in you and is able to stay the course, is going to be around long enough to provide continuity for you and your family.
You must be receiving a lot of anxious phone calls and emails from your clients at the moment.
Our strategy has been to prepare our clients for recessions, to plan the portfolios so that there is sufficient liquidity in the portfolios, either by way of income stream, and we attempted to buy bonds when they were obviously a lot cheaper than they are now, and to have sufficient cash to provide the income for a given period. For example, some people have got sufficient money in their portfolios to last the next 10 years without touching their growth portfolio. And that gives a lot of peace of mind. Many people say that's the reason they can sleep at night.
Perhaps in another 10 years from now, we'll look back at this period, from 2007 onwards and say, it was a crisis, but we got over it.
I think we have probably the toughest years that this planet has ever seen in front of us, but it is a fabulous opportunity because I think most of the markets that we're interested in have priced in the problem that we're trying to deal with. I don't think there are too many further unknown unknowns that we need to be worried about. I think we should be very opportunistic, and very optimistic about what the next 10 years can bring.